You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, today's Monday the 21st of July 2025 and you are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And I've not done any writing today, but I have done what might be termed as things that are writing adjacent. So today I met up with my friend T.G. Campbell, writer of the Bow Street Society novels, www.bowstreetsociety.com or .co.uk, and we actually went up to Sherwood Forest because the research that I'd done told me that there were some yew trees in Sherwood Forest amongst lots of other trees. Well, I'm not going to lie, didn't see a single one. Somebody told me in the shop there was one in the car park. But so we basically just did like a 3-mile walk around taking photographs of trees, basically. That's what I did. I think Tani did some as well. And yeah, so there was a nice sort of curated bit, which is like a path with fences either side, and you could still look over the fences to look at trees. And then there seemed to be a meadowy bit, which was much more like a stroll around the woods that I'm used to when I was a kid. And Tani said, well, why don't we go into that? That'd probably be better for photographs. And she was absolutely right, because there was lots of nice photographs to take, and there was a particularly nice oak tree that just had loads going on with it. So I've got quite a lot of photographs of that, and I can't decide now. So basically I am at two minds what to do with the cover. So one option is I've got a nice single photograph that I deliberately took a photograph where there was a tree, the focus tree, the one for the cover, for the front cover, would be on the right-hand side of the picture, but the picture, wraps around and has got other foresty bits going on next to it. So that's one option. Or the other option is to do this single oak tree that we saw on the cover. And then I got some really quite lovely close-up shots of bark, which could be used for the back cover as long as I put blurb and other bits and pieces on there. So I've got a few options now, basically. I think I mentioned yesterday, I've ordered myself another proof copy of Empress. This is based on all the revisions I've done over the last 3 or 4 days as I read my proof copy. That has been ordered. And basically my plan now, I'm going to read it again because that's just the way my brain works, but I'm going to read it and I'm not going to do any editing. I'm not going to make any changes to the narrative. The only thing I will allow myself to do is correct any typing errors that I see in it as I read it. So if I don't think something's worded particularly well, it will stay. If I've missed out a letter or something that's an obvious typo, I will correct it. But those are the only things I will allow myself to correct. And then I'll get this copy, I'll read it again, and then that will be any minor changes to spelling I make. That will be it. That will be the second draft of Empress signed off. Now, I confess, I've done a little, not intentionally, but so I think 2-3 years ago, at some point in the past, I'd have to check when, I started writing a sequel to Empress of the Trees. I think it was probably 3 years ago. I don't know. And I'd always kind of decided that it needs to be ditched. I don't need to keep any of it. I remember there was a prologue, and my thoughts were that basically what happens in the prologue is what needs to happen in my prologue, but it was incredibly badly written. I didn't like it. And then I've reread it in the last couple of days, and it's all right. I think it's not that it wasn't badly written, is that I've forgotten. It's more likely that I've forgotten that I've edited it at some point along the way. And actually, the opening chapter, the prologue, totally works for what I want it and need it to do for the prologue to self-portrait. So that's good. That's 3,000 words less that I have to write. Chapter 1 was a plot strand that I have completely decided to ditch. In the original version, one of my main characters from still life from Still Life, has got mental health problems and is in hospital after a suicide attempt. And it was Molly. And I just, no, the more I think about it, Molly is, she's had a new chance at life and she's going to grab that with both hands. She would never do that. I don't know what I was thinking. I was probably feeling depressed and decided to put my misery into that character. There is room for a character later on in the story who feels that way, but it absolutely won't be Molly. Molly has got a zest for life. She's effectively, born in a century where women were not almost treated as second-class citizens. They were treated as second-class citizens, and now suddenly she's in a world where she can do pretty much what she likes. She's inherited a gorgeous property and land, and so there's no reason for her. The only thing that I would think would set her off is if she ever finds, I can't say that because that's a twist. That was a twist from the first book. So I'm going to ditch that. But then the second half of that chapter, and indeed the next chapter, were about what's happening to Sherwood. And I read through it, and it needs a couple of tweaks, but basically that's okay as well. So I'm not going to say definitely, but when I finally start working on Still Life, which will be hopefully in the next week or two, I might have the prologue and the first chapter already written. I will read through them again as part of the formal process for doing that book. But there might be 7,000 words or so already there, which isn't bad. Anyway, I will talk to you at some point again tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.